All right, so it says the hangout is now live. Um, EJ, what's good?
What up?
So, just to really, just to cut to the chase, this hangout is going to be about me and EJ, or me interviewing EJ about his the road to marriage. So we're just going to be having a conversation, and we just wanted to invite the world to have some insight, into our personal lives and how to have a successful relationship and things of that nature. So, for people who may not know EJ, this is my brother, my best friend.
Yeah.
We met in college. So obviously, well, not obviously, but he ain't my brother, like blood brother, but he is. So anyway, anyways, man, I'm gonna just interview him about his road to marriage. I was there throughout the midst of it all, so I'm pretty familiar with everything he had to endure to make it to the finish line, or really the starting point, because that's however you decide to look at it.
Yeah.
So EJ, man, is a man of integrity, honor. He believes in everyone just having a successful relationship, and he got some tools in his tool belt that would be able to, I would say, encourage others to maybe look at some things in their relationship and hopefully inspire them to want to implement those things and continue to just move forward and having a healthy relationship. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, man. So that's basically it. Um, Now we just about to talk to each other. I'm gonna tune the world out, and me and EJ about to talk, and y'all gonna get to hear this conversation to the world. But yeah, man. So I guess, when did you meet Rachel?
Man, I met her in 2009, spring semester. It's probably about, I would say, April probably. Um, yeah, we met. It was actually kind of funny. We met through a mutual friend, LaRon, who was lived across the dorm at Missouri State, and I used to go over there and hang out with him all the time. And he had a friend or whatever. I guess Rachel basically saw me on Facebook or something like that, and she was just like, "Hey, LaRon, who's that dude that you hanging out with or whatever?" And don't tell her I told you. Nah, I'm just like, she cool. She knows what's up.
Ah,
But nah, so she just, asked about me and was gonna just pretty much leave it at that. And LaRon was talking to her one day when we came back from the cafeteria, and he was like, "Yo, you want to talk to EJ or you want to talk to Rachel?" And so we just started talking. It just was real cool from the jump. Um, I didn't have a relationship with Jesus, and I was still kind of just that guy that was out there doing whatever. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't have no standards as far as I just whatever happens. To me it was just another girl to talk to.
yeah.
But I knew when I talked to her, she was a little bit different. I remember our first conversation. I get on the phone, I'm like, "What's good with it?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, "What's good? What it do?" So she was real cool, and but it was just something always about her that kind of set her apart. So
yeah,
that's kind
yeah,
of
man. I remember, just even when we used to talk, back in the day, back in 2009 or 2010, whatever, anytime you talked about her, it was like, say, in comparison to anyone else, it was like, Rachel is wifey. That's like
right.
it seemed like you always view her like that,
Yeah.
you know. And I guess, what is it? Like, what is it
Um.
at that time? Like, forget. I would say maybe forget everything not everything, but forget
Yeah.
about like what you know now. But what you knew then, what did you think it was? Like, what did you personally think it was? that
Um,
that drew you to her in that way?
Honestly, I mean, obviously the easy answer is Jesus. But the practical answer of that would be, um, I would say that she separated herself from any other girl, any other person that I had ever talked to. She was cool. We could relate on a lot, and then she had standards. You know, she knew who Jesus was.
Yeah,
So for me, you know, I remember she would try to read the Bible with me and stuff like that. I had never had anyone do that with me,
yeah,
other than you know, and but at the same time, I was in a place where I wasn't really trying to do that, and so, you know, for me, she just set herself apart. One, I mean, she waited to marriage to lose her virginity, and that's huge. And I had
yeah,
never met that before. I had never met a girl at 21, 20, whatever, that wasn't, you know, having sex, wasn't doing these things.
right,
And
right,
and so for me it was like, man, like I have to step my game up to be with her instead of just being, you know, with any other girl or just whatever that's, oh yeah, you can have it. Like that's, it
yeah,
wasn't a track. It got to a point where it wasn't, you know, that other stuff wasn't appealing to me anymore, and this was. And
right,
so that's kind of what I would say from the jump was just stood out to me, that she just separated herself in that way. You
yeah.
know, that I mean, like I said, the first time I seen her, I was just like, man.
So so I guess let's kind of talk about. You remember the time where I was at work,
All right,
and we was on the phone, right?
here we go.
And we was high in the sky.
Oh,
We was on something else, and no, we're not talking about drugs.
right,
We talking about a spiritual plane that
man,
we had never experienced before.
man,
And it was that night where the Lord just really spoke heavily to your heart, gave you a vision. You
yeah,
wrote it down on paper.
yeah,
And the biggest thing that I took away from it, because I know it was a lot more than what I'm about to state, but the main thing I took away from it is you knew like you knew that
yeah,
Rachel was your wife.
absolutely, absolutely, man. I
Hold
mean,
on. So before we go into that, it's 2014.
yeah,
We had this conversation. It was probably 2010,
yeah.
right?
It
And
was
y'all
like
didn't get and y'all didn't get married until 2014.
yeah,
So it's a lot that happened within that 4 years.
a lot.
But back in 2010, when we was
Yeah.
hanging with the stars,
Yeah, man.
you know, that's when you knew like you knew that Rachel was your wife.
Absolutely.
Forget talking to, you know, any other girl.
Yeah.
It's like forget, you was just sold out at that point. That's the only way I know how to word it. So yeah, I guess talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, in 2010, that was me and Rachel, we stopped talking over the summer because we were she wanted a commitment. I wasn't at a place to commit. And then I had gotten into a relationship that was real unhealthy, and then it was probably, I guess we would say February, no, March, April is around the time where me and you were talking. And, you know, we were we had both decided like, yo, we're about to just straight up focus on our relationship with the Lord. And I know for me, I was getting out of a lot of stuff, you know, and you helped me out through a lot through
Yeah,
that. And so we were praying and everything, talking to the Lord, and the Lord just began to really minister to me about um, the vision that He had called for me and Rachel in our lives. And it didn't make sense to me at the time because, you know, I was in a relationship and I was really um, wounded, and I was really like stuck, like a soul tie to that relationship. And I really was confused. you know, I didn't understand exactly what I wanted or what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be with. But it's like something always drew me back to Rachel. And I'd never really understood what that was really until that night when I know that the Holy Spirit has spoke to both of us, you know, and when he just made it so clear that Rachel was the one that he's called me to walk this life out, to walk out ministry with, to walk out and share the gospel with millions of people. Um, and so, you know, it was a crazy transition, but when I knew, um, it brought me more peace. But even then, it was still hard because
Right.
she wasn't at my school, so the relationship I was in was at my school,
Right.
and it was hard to not hold on. You know, I remember calling you all
Yeah.
the time, just yo, I know I need to get out of this relationship, but I don't know how to, bro. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, and then, you know, even from then, when I got out of the relationship and Rachel was still there, and we began to talk and you know, I'm thinking I'm saved, she's saved. You know, I'm like, okay, we're gonna be in this together. I'm thinking that right now's the time to pursue what the Lord has told me, and I realized after a couple months it wasn't time yet. You know, there was still some things that the Lord had to dig out of my mindset and you know, renew my mind in those areas
Yeah.
because I was still being bound in my mind to loneliness or you know, girls or trying to be seen by girls or whatever it could be. Like I was still dealing with those things.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so you know, I mean, do you want me to kind of go into that part, or do you want to kind of
Uh.
right now?
No, you don't necessarily have to go into that,
Okay.
but um, man, trying to think because you was talking about some you knew that the Lord said that that was your wife and that you were gonna be with her,
Yeah.
right? But when it was when you was at a point, I would say in which you would try to act on that word, you found out that it wasn't time. You
Yeah.
know, like
I wasn't ready.
yeah, that's his promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his promise. You
Yeah.
know what he's promised us, but I mean, let's be real. There is a certain time, you know,
Absolutely.
where these things play out. And
Yeah.
so, just looking at your situation, man, a lot of women, man, in particular. Now, I'm not even gonna say in particular, but just women in general, they want a good man, you know. And this idea that we have of what a good man looks like,
Hmm.
you know, is sometimes it's simplified. You just want a man that's on fire for God,
Right.
you know. And I'm gonna be real, you know, you was that brother that was on fire for God.
Hmm.
However, you know, the word talks about, you know, there's a zeal that people have, but it's not according to knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so sometimes, you know, when females or just in general, but I'm gonna just be real. When females say they want a good man, they really don't know what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Because even at that time, I'm not gonna say that you weren't a good man because
Right.
you know, your heart was in the right place,
Right.
but yeah, people weren't walking in your shoes, so they
Right.
really don't understand or didn't understand what it was that you were experiencing, what you were going through.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying is in the context of relationships, when you have that brother or that sister, we gotta have I would say the wisdom to know
Absolutely.
how to be patient.
Absolutely, man.
Because and in so many words, boy, it was some fiery times up and it was some drama, right?
Man.
It was some drama. It was some button heads, you
Man.
know. it was we would call it wishy washy. One minute you want to be in a relationship, the next minute you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
People like, oh, you just selfish, you just want it your way.
Yeah.
But we know the truth. It really wasn't like that.
Yeah.
That's really not who you are. It's just a matter of what you were going through in your
Yeah.
soul,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of stuff had to be flushed out of your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah,
you
bro.
know. So
It's
I guess talk about it, man. Go ahead.
it's I mean, like the biggest thing I would say was just like what KJ was saying, like what you were saying, man, is you do have to be patient, because even in that, when I started to, me and Rachel were in a relationship in 2010, I was not prepared to walk into a relationship or anything, but because of my own desires and thinking that it was time, because we're both saved and love Jesus, you know, uh, I thought, okay, well, we can pursue this. But even Rachel in that was just like, I don't think that you're ready for this. But I didn't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? I was ready to be with her because I'd been thinking about it for so long, and the Lord had told me. But then, like I said earlier, it's like I got humbled real quick in that situation, because the Lord had let me know that He needed me to let her go, and it was hard for me because I had built up this. In Rachel, I had built up this love and this. I built up this home that wasn't meant to be built yet, and so it wound up breaking down because I hurt her in the situation, because I stepped out of time and out of
Yeah,
season. So, when I let her go, I knew that I had to do it for our relationships, for both of us, but I didn't communicate that well enough to Rachel, so she dealt with a lot of bitterness and she dealt with a lot of hurt because of my um, zealous actions. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
um,
Immaturity.
yeah, immaturity.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
once I understood exactly why I needed to, I got delivered from being lonely. I grew up an only
yeah.
child, so I relied on girls to fulfill that
That
partner, that
emptiness,
brother, that
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 void.
right. And
Yeah,
so I had to get delivered from that, and it was hard. But the thing is, man, God's love just entrenched me, and I just was consumed by His word. I was consumed by Him, and I was
yeah,
able to just walk in a freedom that I had never walked in. And me and Rachel, we didn't talk for almost a year and a half, probably,
yeah,
because I knew that I had to focus on my relationship with the Lord, and also just loving people and leading people
yeah,
to come to know who He was. And Rachel would
yeah,
be doing the same.
yeah.
Um,
And you was at a point. It's the way I see it. You was at a point where you didn't know how to focus on your relationship with the Lord and still um, keep your friendship healthy.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
know, and sometimes sometimes people don't understand that we got to learn how to give people that space
Hmm.
to deal with their issues.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, the thing about you that's so different from every other brother is when a when a guy said, I just think we need some, time apart, or even a female, we just need some space to ourselves. That's cold for I want to talk to other people.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, hey, I used that one back in the
yeah.
day. I'm not shoot. It's been used on me back in the day. I'm like,
Right.
let's be real. You know what I mean? But I just think it's amazing because you were really, you were truly coming from a sincere place.
Yeah, man.
You absolutely had no desire to want to get into a relationship with anyone else, or even to mess around with females, in a sexual way like that.
Yeah.
That was never your mo.
Nope.
You truly, you truly just wanted to um, soak up God.
Yeah,
That.
yeah,
But yeah, man. So I guess my question is on this path. You say y'all not talking. Y'all done talk for like almost a year and a half.
yeah.
And you still talking about this your wife. I'm like, come on, bro, bro.
Yeah, man.
I know the Lord is saying yesterday, today, and forevermore, but either one or two things
Right,
happen. Either you didn't hear from the Lord for real, or the Lord lied.
right. And we know he ain't lie.
Yeah. And that was me, man. That was just me being limited in my thinking on how stuff could play out. But in my eyes, it was like me just trying to be your brother. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Look out, I'm like, bro, for real though, like,
yeah,
because I'm going through this with you. Shoot, I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm learning about how to give people relationship advice, this, that, and the other. And shoot, it don't matter who you are. Don't nobody have all the answers. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I learned that we got to be careful and watch what we say, because man, just looking at it now, you know, looking at it now, looking back on it, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I hear you, Lord. Okay, I was just trying to look out for him,
No, I remember. I mean,
and the Lord's like, what? You don't think I'm looking out for
right,
him?
right,
who,
right,
you,
right.
who, you, who you really think looking out for him more, you or me?
Yeah, yeah,
But
man.
man, it's you.
I mean, that's real because, like, I remember our talks all the time, man. Because Rachel had gotten a relationship, and that confused me. I was like, "Yo, Lord, what's going on?" Like, this is supposed to be my wife. She got a whole new boyfriend. I just knew that wouldn't happen. I knew she would be with me. Da 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 da. But then whenever I got past all those emotions, he said, "EJ, my promises, they will be fulfilled." Like,
Yeah,
just trust. And
man.
and so I began to just pray and pray for her and the dude she was with. Because at the end of the day, like, I loved Rachel.
Yeah,
So I wanted to pray God's will over her life, regardless if I was talking to her or not.
yeah,
Like, I just loved that. I was in love with her. I loved her, and I wanted what was best for her life. Period.
yeah,
With or without me.
yeah,
Like, I finally got to that
yeah,
place. Um, but then, like, as the Lord just began revealing things to me about, the relationship she was in, I was just able to pray for those things. And even then, after she got out of that relationship, I was still like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And, you know, she hit me up just apologizing for some things, and we kind of would vaguely talk.
yeah.
And then, I mean, really, honestly, man, your wife Kendra is what kind of put me in place uh, to talk to her, really, because we were in St. Louis. We had went to go see Mark or whatever, and
What year? What year was this?
2012,
Okay.
2012. Um, yeah, 2012.
Yeah.
Um, and Kendra was just like, because I didn't really know if I wanted to see her, I wanted to talk to her. There were just so many unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And also, let me put this like as a side note. Looking back on the situation, and this is from hearing Rachel's heart, I wouldn't have addressed that she was my wife all the way back then, because it put a lot of weight on her
Yeah.
comparing uh comparing me to other guys all the time. Or, well, EJ says that he's my husband, so I know that, and even though this is the reality and this is what the Lord's called us to do, and like, I thank the Lord for his grace, because even in my mistake and immaturity, like, he's still faithful, and he still is able to bring an
Right.
amazing wife, an amazing husband,
Right.
amazing marriage together. So my encouragement to those who do know and understand that the Lord has spoke to them about this is that be slow to speak. and quick to listen to what the Holy Spirit has to say. Because just because you may be feeling and you know in your spirit that, yes, this is the person that God's called me to be with, that doesn't mean that at that time you must address the issue. Because if it was
Right.
what God said, it will come to pass no matter what. You don't even
Right.
have to speak it. She may come up to you and say, hey, this is what the Lord has been saying to me. Or he may come up to you and say, hey, this is what the Lord's been saying to me. But just continue to spend time and understand the person of the Holy Spirit, and he will guide you into all truth. And in that, man, I mean, you won't step out of season in those situations if you are slow to speak. So that's my
Right.
biggest encouragement to people that are in those type of situations.
Yeah, man. One thing that, well, not one thing, but a few things that's just coming to me, as you was like just even saying, be slow to speak. The word tells us to be yielded to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And when you think about just in the natural, a yield sign, that means slow down. Look both ways. Forget to cross the street. There might be some cars coming. You
Mhm.
don't want to get T-boned.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real good message, man. Because yeah, man, we can be excited, like you said, and just know, like we know, the Lord and spoke to us. But in the flood of the emotions we experience, sometimes it can be hard to discern how do I act with this information that I just received.
Yeah.
This is big.
Yeah.
Like this is big news. This is big news. You just told me who I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with,
Yeah.
and I'm not supposed to say anything about it yet. Oh, I
Yeah.
ain't know. I ain't know. But obviously, like you said, looking back, um, another thing, man, I forgot. I forgot what I was about to say, but yeah, that's what I was about to say. Just going through it with you, man. I had your back, but I had Rachel's back more.
Yeah, man.
you know, because
Man.
this is kind of fast forwarding to what, about 2013, 2012,
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
You know, but just to even rewind before that, man, I just, for me, I just kind of, I can only imagine what a female has to go through when a man says, "You my wife, but we can't talk for like the next 2 years."
Yeah.
We're like, what? That's confusing. Like, how
Yeah.
do I know when he been spiritual, hearing from the Lord, versus
Yeah.
when he just been religious?
Yeah.
I'm just, you know what I mean? And
Bro.
it's like that's a lot of weight, a lot of stuff a woman has to deal with. You know what I mean? That's a lot of information, like you said, a heavy weight that they have to deal with, man. And so, at the end of the day, man, what all you can do is encourage people to trust God
Yeah.
and hear Him for yourself. You know, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do. It is. I mean, like I said, I now get how much I hurt her dragging her through my own deliverance. My own issues being dug out. And you do have to understand the other side of things, because I can remember countless times where we'd be talking and you'd be like, well, look at Rachel's point of view. And I'm like, man, dude, like, can you just be on my side? You my best friend, dog. You ain't her friend, you mine. So, but in reality, man, like, I appreciate that, because I was able to better understand her side and how she would be viewing this. Because even before I started pursuing her as my wife officially, and there was still confusion there. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I still didn't know if
Right.
I should do it yet. But I know a lot of that stemmed from me being scared to take that step, that leap of faith, because
Oh
for
my
so
goodness,
long,
we're
for
gonna talk
so
about that.
for so long, I had been single, and not only that, I had a fear of commitment, and
Yeah.
and and I didn't understand, like, I literally have to die to myself and that old person has been dead, you know, and the person who did, you know, didn't commit, or, you know, was scared of commitment, or, you know, all that stuff, he was no longer existed. And when I realized that, it made it a lot easier to transition to say,
Yeah.
okay, Rachel, you know, you are my wife, and I am ready to pursue you as my wife,
Yeah.
not just be someone I'm talking to, because you're better
Right.
than that. You're way better than that. You deserve
Right.
more than that, you know? So
Right. Yeah, man, and I guess just to clarify with what you're saying, because I know it's going to be a few people watching this. You know, you say you have to die to yourself. Now, I know that you know that that person's already dead, and I know you're not advocating, you know, works that you got to do this, that, and the
yeah,
other. But it was really coming to the realization, like you just said, that that person is dead, and you need to. You're saying that you need to really focus on a new mind, you know,
yeah,
putting new
a new
stuff, put
mindset. Yeah,
yeah, a new mindset, you know, because you didn't want your life, you know, your actions or anything to align with like that old mindset, you
yeah,
know. And
yeah,
so yeah, man, that's the only way we see transformation is like you said when we renew our mind, you know. And so, man, how I already know the answer, man, but I still gotta ask it, bro. How did you do it? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, bro, like how in the world did y'all make it to 2014, getting married, having a beautiful wedding? Did y'all well, I'll ask that question later, but man, for real though, because
Um,
it was a lot of back and forth. Like, what's the secret, bro? What's the secret sauce?
the number one thing is no, no, no.
And you know, and I know it's the grace of God, man. I know it's Jesus, you know, but what does that mean?
Yeah, like, you know, like I said before, the answer is obviously Jesus, and we know that. But to practically put it to you guys, um, you know, for us, it first took me stepping up as a man. Um, Me saying, okay, I'm ready to commit. Which I realize a lot of men today, a lot of boys
Yeah,
aren't, you know, they don't know what commitment looks like, or they don't want to commit. And I would say, you know, that stems from childhood, or not seeing people in your family or friends be able to commit to their girlfriends, and everyone's cheating on each other and all things like that. But once you establish a relationship with Jesus, he's committed to you. And so once you know that he's always with you and committed to it with you, you're now able to put on that mindset of commitment, and you look at it from a whole different spectrum. Um, and then secondly, her being willing to um, submit herself to the vision that the Lord has put on my heart. But when I say submission, it's not you know how it's been taught of, oh, I'm over you because I'm the man and I'm just a little measly old woman. No, like literally saying, okay, Lord, like I am going to speak and pray into this vision and who EJ is as my husband to be. And I'm going to continue to speak into
yeah,
that. I'm going to speak life into that. And I'm going to continue to build him up and not break him down. You know,
yeah,
because a lot of
that's
women,
good.
they want to say what the issue is and stuff like that. But she didn't do that. She spoke, this isn't you. If I would get
Yeah,
angry or I would get jealous or things like that, she would say, this isn't you, EJ. You're the
that's good.
righteousness of God.
That's
You
good.
know, this is
Yeah,
not my husband. And
right.
and so that really helped bring me through a lot. And even in our engagement
When
was,
y'all get engaged?
we got engaged. Well, I started pursuing her um and November 1st or something like that, November 10th. 2012.
Yeah.
And then we got engaged May 17th, 2013.
Okay.
And that was just a powerful whole ordeal. And you know, honestly, in our young minds, we wanted to get married in like July, and then it was December. But then from seeking, you know, wise counsel, we decided it would be best to do a year of counseling,
Yeah.
premarital counseling. And tying into what the question was, I would say for any couple who's desiring to be married, I strongly suggest you go through a year of premarital counseling because you really have to go through the seasons of life. And I'll tell you right now, from our marriage, yes, we've only been married 3 months, but it has helped us and propelled us in such a way that words can't describe where we're at compared to probably many other couples that are our age and the knowledge that we've gained from it. Because here's the thing, it really took a killing off of traditions and what people have done and what people always do to really submit ourselves to a year of premarital counseling. Because you know, a lot of times you think marriage and, oh well, I get to have sex with my wife, or oh, I get to do this now because I'm married, I get to live with this person, da 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 da. But in reality, man, you start to realize that those things are great, but that marriage is ministry, man. That marriage is something that the Lord has called together for you guys to walk out. And when you realize that, I mean, all that other stuff is great, but it's not as high priority as it used to be in both of our lives.
Right.
And so I would say that that was the one thing that has pushed us into a place of so much like understanding of each other. Even the arguments that we get in now, it's like we'll be upset, but now we're better to able like see each other's side and able
Yeah.
to like really humble ourselves and say, okay, I see how this is affecting you. And we wouldn't have got that if we would have just rushed into marriage, man. If we
Yeah.
would have just did what we thought we should have done. But when you go through premarital counseling, man, you got the fall season. Things are starting to die off a little bit. You got the winter season. Things are really dying. It's cold. It's harder. And you feel those seasons. You'll go through those seasons in every single relationship. And then you got
Absolutely.
spring. You got spring. Things are starting to bloom. You got
Yeah.
summer. Everything's just so great and everyone's just happy and da da da. But you go through all those seasons, but if you don't experience those seasons before you get married, you don't know how to interact with one another when you do get married.
That's
And
good.
so I'm able to now understand, like, yo, Rachel, I understand right now this is how you're feeling and this is what's going on. And I definitely can get better at it. But I know that I'm way, way further than I would have been if we would have both just did it the way we wanted to do and not the way that the Lord had intended us for us to do. So yeah, man, I mean that would be my biggest encouragement. Secret is I encourage every single couple, regardless if you're in a situation where you may have a kid already by the person, regardless of what it is, don't let your circumstance or your situation dictate what your future in a sense, you know, because at the end of the day, marriage isn't something that it's been made to be. It's not just something you just go and do.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it is truly a ministry that God has called this person and that person and brought them together to walk out and glorify Him through your guys' life.
Yeah, man.
So I just really encourage anyone who's watching this, do not rush into anything and truly get some wisdom in this area. And
Yeah.
even in this, if you have questions, me and Rachel are more than willing, and I know KJ and Kendra are more than willing to help you guys walk through this. You know, because it is a tough time because you know this is the person you want to be with, and it's so easy to get caught up in that hype, you know. But the reality is once you just kind of slow it down a little bit and listen to what the Lord's saying about it, you realize that it's all for the better.
Yeah, man. It gives you, it gives you peace, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, when when things is looking like fall, or when things is feeling like the wintertime,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, when you really just get grounded, man, you're able to have peace in the midst of the storm.
Absolutely.
That's really the only way I know how to put it, man. One thing I tell people, is, it's like how do you know you found the one, or they just have questions like, what do you think it would take to make my relationship work? And I always try to be real, I always be real with them, and I would say try to be relevant, without sounding religious,
Mhm.
because that's a bad, to me, being religious is a bad word, I'm spiritual, and
Yeah.
so, you're gonna get spiritual advice, and so what I tell people, man, is for one, you want to make sure that you have the same foundation, you know, and two, you want to make sure that y'all are both rooted and grounded in that foundation, because that's a big key. We can always say that, oh yeah, we got the same foundation, but the question is, are you rooted and grounded in that foundation? Because if you're not, then when all hell break loose,
Yep.
there's really going to be nothing to calm that storm,
Yep.
because no one is committed to remaining grounded and rooted
Yeah.
in that foundation. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when somebody gets angry, pride wins instead of, becoming humble,
Right.
opening yourself up to listen to what could have went wrong and how can we improve this.
Yeah.
How can we improve on our communication skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I tell you, man, it's just awesome, man, just to see your story, man. But even more than that, man, I had fun going through
Yeah.
it. I'm just being honest, bro.
Yeah. Been through the
It
whole
was
thing,
fun
man.
times. It's good because we can look back on it and laugh. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like that,
Going
and that's
through it, you
that's
like, man,
that's what yeah. It was some good times. It was some bad times.
boy. Yeah.
But
Yeah, man.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. Anything else you wanna add?
Um. Yeah, I mean, just like I said, man, you know, uh, I don't have all the answers. KJ ain't got all the answers, you know. But whoever you are, whoever's watching, I just strongly, first and foremost, um, to truly establish a relationship with Jesus, and and I'm not talking church and all these different things. I'm talking an intimate relationship to know Him, just as real as me and my wife are together. That's how real of a relationship that Jesus desires with you. And a lot of times, we don't understand, or it sounds cliche. Um, but when you really establish a relationship with Him, situations like relationships, all those things are in God. And as you pursue uh, a relationship, and a deeper relationship with the Lord, it's, if I could paint a picture, it's like you walk into a house, and the house is God, and you walk into that house and you start finding things, but in that living room, or in that bedroom, or that's where your husband or your wife is. It's in God, in His house. And
That's
so
good.
you must first enter into that house in order to find that person. You can't find that person outside in the yard. That person is in the house. You're not going to find a TV and couch outside in the yard. You're not going to find a kitchen outside in the yard. No, that's not where they're meant for, in a house. And so it's the same thing with marriage. It's the same thing with your spouse. It's the same thing with the man or woman that God has called you to be with. don't be afraid to walk into that house by yourself. Don't try to bring in your extra baggage into that house. Take the step into that house and be okay and be comfortable with who you are. Know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, then you're able to tell someone. Someone's able to tell you that you're not that. You
Right.
know,
Right.
you could be driving a red car, but someone could say, "Oh, that's a black car," and because you
Yeah.
don't understand that car, you don't believe that. You're not firm in what you believe. You're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, yeah, it's red."
Yeah.
You're just going
Yeah.
along, and so it's the same way with your identity, and when you know who you are, you won't settle for less. You won't
That's right.
settle for anything that's not in my Father's house, period.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
not in the house, I'm not gonna grab it.
Yeah.
And so that's just, I mean, that's pretty much it. I know I'm talking, but I'm just so
Yeah.
passionate about, most importantly, people understanding who they are, and
Yeah.
and and understanding that the love and desires that they want, they can only be fulfilled by God, by
Yeah.
Jesus, period. You
Yeah.
know, and so don't stop looking in love and all these things in the wrong places.
Yeah.
It's in the house, in my Father's house, that you will find all things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, that's kind of
Yeah, man.
what I
That's
got.
yeah, man. That's good news, man. And and the word tells us, man, if you seek Him,
Yeah.
you will find Him.
Yeah.
Like I tell people, bro, God is terrible at hide and go seek. For
Yeah,
real, man. Bro, if you look for Him, you will find Him. You will find Him. Like
man.
there's a promise
Yeah. Yeah.
attached to your seeking, and the promise is you will find Him. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
not the door will be open.
Yeah.
You got the best ears in the world.
Yeah.
He gonna hear the knock, man. So, man, I can't say it any better than what you just said, man.
Yeah, bro.
When you actually receive the love of God, man, then you'll actually have something to give to others.
Yep.
But until that, then the only thing that you can give is a lower
Yeah.
carnal
Yeah.
reciprocal type of love. In other words,
Yeah.
I'll do good to you because, you
Yeah.
know, you did something good for me.
Yep.
Now I feel like, but man, this love that God gives us, man, it allows us to love the unlovable. You know, and it's not because we're doing it in our own strength, but it's just because we have received and are in so much awe of who He is
Yeah.
that that love that we receive from God just naturally flows out of us. You know,
Absolutely.
it's an effortless thing, man, and that's just the life that you get. You know, when you bask in the presence of God, man.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, I know. I'm gonna be posting this video on my blog as well as YouTube channel. I don't know if EJ gonna put it on his YouTube channel. He probably will. But you can go to my blog. It's thewordhub.org. Again, that's thewordhub.org. Um, Also, EJ, I know you just started. You know, you and Rachel just started a ministry out of your house.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you called it anything yet, but folks is showing up.
Yeah,
And
man.
you telling them about the goodness of God,
Absolutely.
and that's powerful, man. I'm just excited to see what He's doing in your life, man. That's amazing. You about to go down to LaGrange and preach down there, tell the folks
Yeah.
about the goodness of God, man. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing, man, just to see you walking in everything God has promised us,
Yeah.
And I know, man, I know your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what you about to do tonight, you about to go and teach the gospel, tell
Yeah.
people about the goodness of the Lord. Man, that's the last thing you wanted. you know? It's
Mhm.
like, of course you want to tell the world, but you ain't really have no care to be standing before people preaching this,
Nah.
that, and the other, because you're not the type of, it's not about you,
Nah.
and you've always felt that way. But
Yeah.
just to see, how these things just naturally flow into your life. It's like you don't seek out opportunities; they just come to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the favor of God, man. So yeah, man. We about to go on and end this hangout, bro. We'll probably talk more offline, but I hope y'all enjoyed this, man. Feel free to leave comments if you want to contact EJ. Uh, Friend him on Facebook. His name is EJ Brown, and I know it's a lot of EJ Brown, so I'm gonna tell you his Facebook URL is facebook.com/EJ617. So facebook.com/EJ617. So just friend him on Facebook, man. Make sure you send him a message when you friend him, so he'll know where you're coming from.
Right.
We typically don't add people we don't know. So just
Right.
make sure you send a message, say, hey, saw your video, just thought I would add you on Facebook. So yeah, man, leave a comment below this video. Let us know your thoughts. If you disagree or agree with anything, hey, we open to it all. If you got questions, we're open to it all. So yeah, that's it. All right, bro.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.